Good morning, everyone. I thought I would share this little painting I was playing with last night. And I was playing with it because I was using a flat wash brush, and I thought, let's try and make a flower out of it. So these are the Meeden brushes I've been sharing with you. They're what I've been using lately as an equivalent to the Degatos, which sell out a lot. And same thing, you get under $20, you get 10 brushes. And what I actually like about the Meeden is you get different brushes versus the Degato. If you like just a round brush, that's still a great set. I will tell you the one thing I don't like about the brushes, aside from their beautiful brushes and they're snappy, yet they're soft and hold a lot of pigment and water, but they don't mark the sizes on them. So for me, it's not a big deal. For some of you, that may be a big deal. So just telling you that before you order them. But I think they're beautiful brushes. I've had a lot of fun with them. So today I'm going to use their flat wash brush, and we're going to create this little flower. Normally I would use my round brush for my flowers, but we're going to use the flat wash, and it was really easy actually. So I painted the original, as you know, on my Artisto pads that I love, 140 pound, cold pressed, and that way it's in my little book to refer to later. I'll end up putting on here what brush I used, what colors I used, and this is such a great little reference and I'm hearing really good things from you guys as well as far as liking this paper for more of a student grade. It's not 100% cotton, but it has a great feel and it does really well. You guys are enjoying it and it's very affordable for the beginner. I'm going to be painting, I've been painting on this Meeden, which is 100% cotton. These are the 10 by 7 sheets, 300 GSM, cold press. And I like these because they're on a block, which just means it's sealed on all 4 edges. So nice if you like working really wet because it holds everything down. When you're ready to, when the painting is dry and you're ready to remove your sheet, you just use a credit card. Actually, Meeden gives you a little tool that you slide in right here, and you slide it around and it just separates it from the board. So I'm really enjoying this paper versus my arches because it's doing really well and a little bit more affordable if you're not wanting to go right away to your arches, yet you want that good cotton paper. And then of course, Meeden, you know I love them and I'm always looking on Amazon and buying more things. This is their water dish, and I always joke, if you've ever had your water containers dump over, it's a nightmare. So I love this. I've got my wash side and my rinse side, got my paper towel, got my MeiLang paints, which you know I also love. I can't afford to use Winsor Newton every day. So these are such a great option for me. They've got all the colors for beginners. You don't have to stress about mixing colors. They're creamy, they're vibrant. I love them. All right, and of course my Meeden palette, which I like because I take up a lot of area to mix my paints, and this has such big, large areas as well as these little wells. So there we go. That's my supplies. I have already sprayed my MeiLang paints, which are Paul Rubens paints. Paul Rubens, I say that because they've got such quality paints. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start with this middle, which is basically 2 C strokes. And I'm mostly going to be using C strokes throughout this. On these little petals, if you can see them, I'm going to use the end of the brush, okay? And I will apply pressure to make a wider stroke. So I think this will be fun. I never had really painted flowers with a flat wash brush. So it was kind of fun when I did that last night. I'm going to use, in my MeiLang palette, as you know, Quin Magenta is my absolute favorite in Winsor Newton. So that is the madder red here. So we're just going to use that. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of the rose red because I want the center of the flower to be a little bit darker. And as it goes out, it's going to get lighter and lighter. I like that look. I don't know if you guys can see my water well, but isn't that even pretty? I just love watercolors. Okay, so let's start with our center. So I'm going to use, resting my palm here, light pressure, and I'm going to create this center bud right here. So tip of my brush, or edge of my brush, they call it tip or toe, bring it up and then apply pressure and join the other side. So I've got this beautiful little bud here, just like that. Now I'm going to rinse off my brush a little bit and tap it off and just lift a little. Now this color is a little bit harder to lift, and then I'm going to play with that a bit and see if I can maybe add some yellow in there. Wash and rinse my brush because that red is pretty strong, and go into my cad yellow in my MeiLiang here, and I'm just going to tap in while this is wet, just like that. So I've got this beautiful center piece. Now, this Meeden paper is going to behave a little bit differently than your Artisto because it's 100% cotton. So it's going to draw in that water a little bit quicker. So if you are working wet and wet, you'll have to work a tiny bit faster. And then I'm going to start creating these side petals. So I'm going to start with the tip of my brush again, light pressure, work up and curve around like a C stroke. So this one I'm going to go down just because I'm on the opposite side, and I'm bringing all my petals to the center of my flower. Now before that dries, I'm going to wash and rinse my brush, and I'm just going to start coming in, softening these edges using my brush in a horizontal fashion and just touching into this pink. So I'm getting this really pretty blend. This really pretty flow. Look at that. It looks so fluffy and light. Just like that. Almost like a peony. And then I might touch into a few places with a little bit of that paint, just to get some variety. And we'll just keep going here. So pushing down my brush and then bringing it to a point. And then maybe touch in a little bit. Look how pretty that is. I never thought about using this brush for that. So I'm going to do these bottom leaves. So point and bring it around. It never even occurred to me to use a flat wash brush for something like this. So kind of funny. See, and I've been painting forever. Look how you learn. I rinsed my brush and I'm just swooping it around. Got a little crazy there to make this petal coming out. And then I'll do another one over here. So swoosh it around, kind of make that C stroke, and then wash and rinse your brush. And I know I'm going a bit fast here, but because we want to get it before it completely dries, and all my brush strokes are pointing towards the center of the flower. That way you don't look wonky. Sometimes if your petals look a little wonky, that could be why. Now I'm going to go in with just a touch of that darker color, which is the rose red, and just touch in a few places here. Look how pretty. I might even pick up a little of that cad yellow, but I want to water it down a tiny bit and touch in with that. As you know, these are my absolute favorite colors. I just could paint with these colors all day long. Now, before that dries, wash and rinse my brush, tap it off, and I'm going to create this stem. This brush is great for that because you've got this really fine tip. So I always use a olive green, and I mix my sap green because these are kind of cool colors. So I want some of that sap green in there. And I want the consistency of my paint to be about 50-50, 50 water, 50 paint. Now, if you don't know if you have too much water on there, you can always tap off. See how much water came off? And then make sure with your stems, they're pointing. So if this is the center of the flower, that's where the stem's gonna come out. So you don't wanna do a stem that's pointing this direction because that would look wonky. So just make sure when you do your stem, you're kind of visually following the center and then coming out. I had somebody the other day ask me, and I thought it was kind of interesting, and she was actually correct. She said, how come everybody always makes their stems so tiny? Never thought about that. So I've been thinking about that as I'm painting. Now let's go in with a leaf. We're going to do the same type of thing we did here. And I'm going to use the tip of my brush, light pressure, come up a bit, and then swoop around, putting more pressure on my brush. Just like that. Do another one here, tip, then swoosh around. So funny, I never use this brush. And I'm gonna add in a tiny bit of blue here. Let's see what that looks like. Now, sometimes you gotta be careful because I don't want the blue to be down here and so separate from this. So a lot of times I'll add the color of the flower into my stems just to bring some coherency and unity, those components of composition. I'm adding in a tiny bit of brown because I love brown in my stems. I just do. And when they mix with my leaves, I think it's really this beautiful earthy feel. And then I'm going to pick up some of that yellow because I want to bring some of that yellow down here so my eye doesn't get stuck up here. So just adding a tiny bit in there just to get a feel for it. And now my eye sees this yellow and then it picks up this yellow down here. I'm going to add one more leaf here. Maybe coming out here. So the tip of my brush, light pressure, and if you think you have too much water, just dab it off. I'm going to actually add a little more paint. Draw it out, create this leaf. And you know what? I got a little bit of dry brush there, but I think I kind of like that. I'm going to leave that actually. It almost looks, it left some white space naturally. Now I'll go in with, let's add in a tiniest bit of that pink that we had in here. And watch how pretty that looks. And it just draws your eye down. It's a great shadow trick. Because now look at this, your eye is traveling around. It's seeing pink here, it's seeing pink here. Such a lovely technique. I love that technique. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bud here. So let's see how this flat wash brush works for that. I'm going to go into this color I had originally, which is the rose red. And let's just do a tiny little bud here. Now I'm going to use kind of the corner of my brush. And then before that dries, I want to go in and create the little stem coming out because I want it to mix with that. So see how it blended in there? And then bring this stem down just like that. I'm going to tap in. You could even tap in there with some yellow. Maybe a tiny bit more green. There we go. Could even do a little pieces coming out there. Let's see how this brush works if I use it on its side for a tiny leaf. Yeah, I like that. I didn't do that in my original one, but I kind of like that. I feel like I want to add just a touch of yellow into that. Yeah. There we go. That's pretty. Okay. So I'm basically done. I might do one light value leaf here so it looks like it's in the back. So let's bring one out here. Got a lot of that dry brush, which just means my brush was dry. There we go. And now that leaf kind of set back in there. This one pops out a little bit because it's darker value, and we could even go in and darken that a bit more. Kind of hate to mix over my beautiful white space I had there, but that's okay. So I wanted to show you how that pops out. This brush does do a good stem. I do like that. And there you go. I'm about done. I might go in and add some darker values in here just because it all kind of looks like the same value. So let's pick up a little bit of our reds, whatever reds you're using, and we'll just go in and create a couple swooshes. So I'm going to use a little bit more of the belly of my brush, just like that. Now, if those are too strong for you, those colors are too strong, you can just go in and I can wet them. So let's do that. Wash and rinse my brush. There's still some paint in there. And then let's just wet those a little. Because as you know, if you watch my channel, I really like soft edges. I'm not a big hard edge person. So immediately I always want to soften all these hard edges. And I just think it makes such a beautiful, there we go. And it brought in some different values. Just tapping into that since it's wet still. There we go. And look at there. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I really wanted this to be somewhat simple. Well, see, I said I'm going to stop right there and then right away. I just can't help it. So this brush was a lot of fun. Give it a try if you have a flat wash brush. I think it's really fun. If not, I'll go to Amazon and find the link for these brushes. I always have fun with pretty brushes. I like pretty brushes. Now, if I'm working on a commission or something I'm going to sell, I would definitely use I would use this paper actually, 100% cotton. It's good paper. I would use Arches, and I would probably use a Princeton brush. Now, this looks a little lopsided to me, so I'm just going to add tiny bit to the other side. Okay, I got to stop. I'm going to start overworking that. Okay, guys, I hope that was fun for you. Really fun, again, using this flat wash brush. It's always fun to try and create flowers and things with different brushes. And sometimes you might find that actually you really like using this better than a round brush. The Velvet Touch has really been my go-to. That's typically what I do my flowers with. I just love the feel. But I've been playing with these lately just as another beginner brush set. If you don't want to invest too much, you get the whole set. All right, everybody, I hope that was fun. I hope you give it a try. And as always, happy painting.